Hi, I'm Amber. I wanted to get on and share today because today I celebrate 1 year clean. Um, it's something I never thought I could do, and I don't know if um, any of you have ever struggled with drugs, but I think it's been one of the most difficult things I thought that I'd ever have to face. And I probably did it in like the most difficult time in my life. Everything was chaotic. I knew everything was going down. Um, it was stressful, and I was in pain. I was on a ventilator 3 times at the beginning of the year. Last year, I'm just going to show you what I looked like last year around this time. Actually, February 27th, I was on a ventilator. And I was on a ventilator in January and in March. But I thought it was kind of weird that I was on it on the 27th. And today is March 27th. So the reason I wanted to share this is because I'm going to share my testimony. And when I was growing up, at a very early age, my dad started me with drinking. I came from a very Bible thumping, Jesus believing people, but it was really difficult because there was a lot of hypocrisy. I got taught about God, but in a very, like, God's a wrathful God, and I still, I still looked at God, as my refuge and my strength when I was growing up. So my dad started me drinking at a very early age. I was 3 years old the first time I got drunk on tequila. I stood up against the wall with my arm against the wall, and I was like, I feel fine. Later on, I ate a tub of butter and a whole chocolate Santa and some coconut cake, threw up all over the kitchen floor, and got beat for it pretty bad. I didn't understand, but it just continued after that. My dad kept me drinking. I was his drinking buddy and his punching bag. My sister was his little princess. So, all through life, that's just the way it was for me. And no matter what I did, I felt like I was always in trouble. So as I grew up, I got about 7 years old, and I hit the altar, and I really had an encounter with Jesus. And the altar was my place where I could just go and let it all out, and he would meet me there. And I went through so much that, I didn't have anybody to talk to, but I knew when I got to that altar, I could let it all out, and nobody could hear me but him. And he would come right where I was, and he would catch every tear, and he would speak to me. And I started hearing the voice of God at a very early age. And I held on to that. And as the years went on, with the drinking and the abuse, and, my mom was in and out of my life, that was really hard for me. And I always asked God, I'm like, why did you give me these parents? And I know that sounds harsh, but I was like, God, like, you speak to me, I know you made me, I know, you know, you created me, like, and like, he was speaking to me at an early age, and he was like, like, it was just, there was something that was going to happen in my life, and I was like, there's no way that anything's ever going to change, you know what I mean? Like, I am stuck, and I'm scared, and I'm afraid, and I'm alone. And the Lord just, he steady held me, and I started to resent God, um, as I continued to grow older, and I got into my, like, teenage years. And my dad and my mom both struggled with homosexuality. My dad he lived as a straight man, but when he'd get drunk, he would have his legs crossed, and he'd have a Bible in his hand, and a joint and a beer, and he'd be like, let's go to the gay club, right after he just finished telling me, homosexuality is a sin, and I couldn't be gay. And My mom, dressed me like a boy. My dad dressed me like a girl. It's very confusing. Um, so when I got to be about a teenager, I had started to resent God a lot. And I started doing my own thing. I started smoking cigarettes with my stepsister and my sister, because I wanted to be cool. I didn't like them, but I did it anyways. They gave me cocaine for the first time. We were running around an apartment building, holding one of my first nieces. I didn't know any better. I was just kind of following suit. Well, I guess I kind of did know better, but I didn't care about being better. I just wanted to escape. I was very suicidal early on, and I knew I just didn't want to be in this world. I felt different. And I always felt different. And people actually treated me like I was different. Like, people were always drawn to me and stuff like that. And they're like, you're just different than other people, and I don't know, I found it weird, at times because things got weird. But I became really sexually active, and early on in my teenage years, you know what I mean? Like, that's really all I had. Like, I got my first girlfriend at 13. I remember going home with a hickey, and I was in a lot of trouble, even though I didn't really like the girl. Um, it was just, and I'm sorry for saying that, they know who they are, and I apologize, no offense. But, you know, I wasn't really comfortable. I didn't really understand, what I was going through at the time. And I wasn't ready to be, that intimate to go further. And this girl was extremely sexually active, and I wasn't there yet. So, anyways, I started sneaking out of the house. I started having to throw clothes out the window, and be able to dress like I wanted to dress. Um, I was in Pasco County, and it just was not accepted. I experimented with a girl at 8th grade. My sister told the whole school. I lost my only friend, my best friend, and I had to go to school where I was picked on, and um, I had nobody, and it was really, really hard. And especially with it being my sister. My sister was really mean to me growing up. Like, I'm talking about evil. She hated me. She truly hated me. I didn't have a bigger enemy than my sister. Um, and she was a lot bigger than me. So anyways, like, I, I really, craved my mom's attention, and my mom was like, it was hit or miss. It was in and out. My mom did what she wanted to do. She was a carny. My mom was on drugs. My dad was on drugs. I see my family on drugs. It was my dad and my Aunt Gloria. My mom's sister hung out a lot. Um, there was just a lot going on. And as a kid, you're like, like, this is bad stuff. But, you joined the party because my dad, sometimes when I didn't want to drink, he would force alcohol down my throat. He would hold me down and pour it down my throat. I remember my sister would hold me up and, like, the shower and stuff like that, as I was puking all over myself. I was a tiny little thing, and I drank a lot for a kid. Like, I shouldn't have been drinking anyways. I wasn't even fully developed. And I had a lot of stomach issues. I don't know if it was because of the alcohol or what. But, as time went on, like, at 13, my dad was like, you're either going to be gay or you're going to get out of my house. And I was like, yes, like, I've been waiting for this day. Like, I'm going to be gay. Please let me go because I want to get away from you. I had written him a letter, and I told him how I hated him and how I stood over him at night. And I was like, I just wanted him dead. Like, I wanted him to die because he was going to kill me otherwise. I was terrified of him. I loved him, but I felt like he didn't love me. And the beating was very harsh. Like, we got beat with, like, horse whips that were leather that he would wet. 2x4s with holes in them. Like, he didn't care anything he could get a hold of. He whipped us with cords. It didn't matter. And wherever he hit us, he got us. And so at 13, I was like, yes, I am ready to go. Like, I don't care what I gotta say. I'm out of here. So, I left and moved out. My mom let me come and live with her, but that was, like, kind of in and out. They would change the locks on me a lot, and I would take the blame for a lot of things that my mom did I'd go home sometimes and I'd never know why the lock was changed. I couldn't get in. All my stuff was in there. Um, my mom would give me permission to do things, and then tell Julie, that she didn't. Julie's her wife, um, and it was really rough. And I knew something was going on with my mom. Like I could tell because I paid very close attention. And so I was on my own at 13. Staying with people, babysitting people's kids, sneaking in, people's houses. Like people's parents were like, why can't you go home? And why you have to find a place to stay every weekend. Um, and so like I started doing drugs, on my own and trying to commit suicide. I was in detox and psych wards um, at a very early age, uh, and seeing the counselors, Christian counselors in the home. And my dad was very controlling. He'd get to the point where he'd want to come find me, and so I would be hiding. And as soon as I could start working, I started working. Um, I remember I started selling weed at an early age. I met these Jamaican dudes, and me and my high school sweetheart were, offered to go across the border. And we were like, how will we do that? I mean, we didn't get many details, but we were told we'd be given $10,000. So we were like, heck yeah, we can use that money, you know what I mean? Like, I'm out on my own. We're trying to figure out what to do with me. I'm from place to place to place to place. Um, Her parents hate me because, she was this Christian girl, and, I guess I turned her out, and they were really not okay with that. Because that's just what I did when I was, at that age. I just thought that's what you did. You turned people out. You brought people to the other side. You know what I mean? Like, let them know what they're missing. That's, that was my mindset then. And, like I said, I felt like I hated God. I felt like he turned his back on me, and so I turned my back on him completely. And I didn't care. I didn't care what anybody said. I didn't care what anybody thought. I was going to do me and be me, and that was it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And I took the job with the Jamaican dudes, as I was selling weed. So we got on an airplane. We went to Arizona. They drove us the rest of the way. There was some guys that we didn't even know that picked us up at the airport, which was kind of scary because what they told us is completely different than what happened. And they drove us on in, I guess, to this really ghetto hotel. I guess we were in Mexico. I'm not really sure where we were, to be honest. I was 15 years old. I didn't have an ID, or I had an ID, and she had a suspended license, but she still had an ID. And they put us in a rental car. They took us in this room, and it was all these Jamaican dudes with, like, I want to say they had weapons. Like, it was scary. It was like some stuff you see on a movie, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. We're like two preppy white girls, from Tampa Palms, and we are in the hood of hoods with a bunch of Jamaican people that we have no idea what's going on, but they all looked really mean. They did not look nice. Maybe Haitian, I'm not sure, whatever. But so they sent us down to the car. They took our stuff. They packed all the stuff inside of our stuff, and then packed the trunk. We didn't know it was going to be like that. And they told us to drive. As we pulled out of the hotel, there were like 9 cops in front of us, driving through like a funeral in the middle of the night. And then there was like a break, and we pulled out, and there was more behind us. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this don't seem right. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm still not breathing. I'm sure she's not either. She's driving. And I'm like, dude, and I was paranoid growing up. Like, I already had signs and symptoms of being schizophrenic. And this is without drugs. So I'm like, something's not right, but, we kept driving because what are we going to do? So I guess the Jamaican dudes were like in front of us in a carload and behind us. So we're being directed the whole way by them. We get on the interstate, we start going, we're told we can't smoke, we can't drink, we can't stop, we can't do anything. So we're just driving. And I start paying attention to these vehicles. And I'm like, oh man. So as I'm paying attention to these vehicles, I start tagging, I start programming tag numbers in my phone. And people are changing vehicles. Like I can tell like different people are in the same vehicle because I'm checking the tag. And, I'm very observant. My dad taught me to do when I was growing up. So anyways, we keep going. It's a very scary ride. We get to this like hut thing, looks like a toll booth. The dude checked our IDs. He's like, where are you coming from? Where are you going? What were you doing? He let us on through. Apparently, from what we were told, both the car in front of us and behind us got searched. So we keep going. Things really got crazy along the way. And finally, in Louisiana, I'm like, I'm getting out. I don't care what you do to me. We are not going any further. Like, we were switching seats as the car was going at 80 miles per hour on cruise control, flipping seats, like getting chased down by semi trucks. Like, I was just like, I am done. I was losing my mind. So it was like the most uncomfortable ride on the way back. We got a hotel room. They made us sleep. They made us get in the car with them. And they looked really angry. I guess one of the girls took off with the car. And I thought they were going to kill us. Anyways, we get back. We make it back. We were told that the girl got popped. I don't think she did. We never got paid. We finally got our stuff back, like a week or so after. But that was the last, I really heard about that. As time went on, like I kept, hustling on the side, but I got a regular job. I was still, in and out of, my parents or, running from the cops because what they would do is they would kick me out and then they would report me as a runaway. So I was always looking over my shoulder, no matter what. At about 17, I was living with my mom, and my high school sweetheart had started stealing clothes because her dad had gotten in trouble with the FBI for laundering money. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't understand. Whatever. I just knew that they were really wealthy, and she really bought me a lot of stuff on the credit cards, and you know what I mean. Like I always wore the same outfit twice. I never wore the same thing. Always different shoes. I was always really decked out. So she started boosting, and one day I went to the store with her. I had weed in my pocket, and as we're walking out of the store, the security guard tells us to stop and go back down. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even have a bag in my hand. I didn't do nothing. You know what I mean? He's like, come back inside. And I'm like, dude, are we really doing this? And I look over and I'm like, I've got weed in my pocket. And she's like, whatever. So he takes us in this office in the back and he's calling the police. And while he's got his head down, I take the weed out of my pocket, pass it over her, and she shoves it down because they were going to let her go because she was 18. And I had to go to juvie because I was 17. Now, mind you, I'm like, are we for real now? Because I don't have a bag in my hand. He's like calculating this stuff, and I'm like, this is a nightmare because how is she going home and I gotta stay and I didn't even do nothing? So, anyways, they said I took something off my hanger and handed it to her, which was bullcrap. It did not happen. So, they take me to juvie. My mom thought it was funny. I finally get picked up. That was the first time I got arrested. I start probation the day of my 18th birthday. And I'm like, I'm selling cocaine at this point. I'm selling weed. I'm drinking. I go to the club knowing I've got to go to probation the next day. I go to the club. They let me in. Of course, they had already been letting me in. I was already drinking at the club. It didn't matter. So the next morning I show up and I am hung over going to the community center in Hillsborough County. And they have me with this little 8-year-old black boy. He was like, they're like, sit down with him and teach him. And I know I smell like straight alcohol. And this kid is just the sweetest. And I am like trying to function, you know what I mean? But I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is probably the best trouble I had ever gotten in for me to be able to spend time with this kid. And that's what I had to do for community service. So I get through my 6 months of probation. I'm working at Crappy Bill's. And the day I go to my last day of probation, they told me they're going to drug test me. They haven't drug tested me the whole time. And I'm like, great. But I had stayed clean right before the end because I knew I had a drug test. Like, I just knew. And so I'm clean. I go in to pee, and I can't pee. So I leave. I forget that I didn't pee, and I get high. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to go back. So I go back after doing cocaine and smoking weed, and I still passed. Don't ask me how, but I did. I got off probation. And she gets off with a $500 fine, and that's it. So as time goes on, I continue partying, I continue meeting people, and now I'm starting to meet people that are just older people coming up to me, just giving me dope. And I'm like, this is strange. Like, nobody just gives people dope. So I'm like partying hard. Like, I'm into ecstasy, I'm into GHB. I mean, I'm like getting things like Quaaludes, like people can't even get. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm tripping on acid. People are like, where do you get this from? I'm like, I don't know. I just keep meeting all these people. And so I'm like hardcore on drugs. Like, but I was a functioning addict. Like, I could do anything while I was getting high. If I wasn't getting high, I was not functioning. So I, continue my journey in life, still working, still doing my thing, having 2 girlfriends at a time, then 3 girlfriends at a time. They like kicked the door in on me at one girl's house. I mean, things got really crazy. And then I end up renting a room from my one of my high school girlfriend's uncles. I was 15. Should have never happened. I didn't have anywhere to go, and I was going to school to get my GED and working at Burger King full time. And one day he drugged me, and I remember I was like, I don't feel good. I took like a couple sips out of a beer, and I was like, I don't feel good. I went to lay down, and I was like paralyzed. It was like my whole body was paralyzed. I couldn't move anything. And I could see him coming and getting on top of me. And, long story short, I'm going to skip past that. Things happened to me that should have never happened to me. I stayed for like 2 more weeks. And I finally went and broke down to my mom. And my mom, things that happened to her growing up. And she was like, I never let anything happen to you. Blah, 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 whatever. And the cops ended up coming. And my mom, my sister, and her wife all told the cops that I lied because they were going to be in trouble because they didn't report it. And they were wondering why a 15-year-old was living with a full-grown man. So they asked me why I stayed 2 weeks after he did that. And I didn't see him or anything. Like, I was not there when he was there. And anyways, so the drugs continued, and I continued partying. And at 21, again, I went out clubbing knowing I shouldn't have. I was really sick. I didn't have a voice. And on the way home, I got arrested. My ex went down a one-way street, slammed my hand in a car door. We end up with cops surrounding us. Somebody left their weed in the back seat. I took the possession of marijuana charge. I shouldn't have. It wasn't mine. And she went to jail on a DUI. My sister bonded us out. Thank God. So we get bonded out on my 21st birthday. So it was 18, then 21. And then not long after that, things continue to get crazy. And, I went through these different relationships. I'm with girl, from girl to girl. I never was single, not a day in my life. I went from one relationship to another and cheated all the way in between. And steady use. Like, I was never clean. I couldn't even get sober to take my psych meds and try and get better. And I was having psychological issues and, physical and mental health issues. And I was really young, and I just continued. I drank from morning to night. I never stopped. I'd wake up drinking. I'd pass out drinking. I was even filling my cup up, on my breaks at work or running out at work and filling up my cup, with alcohol. Steady smoking weed and doing all kinds of other drugs, and slinging drugs to hustle on the side, trying to maintain my habit and working, never having a license, steady driving. And then, my early 20s, I ended up breaking up with one of my girlfriends. I seen some people at the store, they seen me throwing away my beer can. I was drinking and driving. And they asked me for some weed. So I went to take them some weed. And, when I went to take them some weed, they had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it smelled like rotten milk in their house. And I noticed they didn't have electricity. And I was like, man, I can't leave these people like this. So I let them come and move in my townhouse. Me and my girlfriend had just broken up. The worst decision I probably ever made. But I was like, okay. So I let them come. And they kind of took my house over. They were into a lot of stuff I did not realize they were into. I served them, I cooked for them, I cleaned their bathroom. Saying they started abusing their kids in my living room, and I was like, man, you cannot do that. Like, I will fight for the kids. I remember one day I came home, girl's sitting on my couch, and she's got like a little handgun, and she's just sitting there on my couch, like, and I'm like, dude, what is that? You know what I'm saying? I don't know anything about guns. And she starts laughing with this, like, evil laugh, and she's like, it's a pistol or something, you know what I mean? Whatever it's called. I don't remember the exact terminology she said, but I was like, is that thing real? And she was like, yeah, it's real. And I was like, you need to use it or you need to put it down and you got to go. You can't stay here anymore. And I mean, that's how crazy I was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't really faze me, like, standing in front of it. And I was like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, do me a favor. I really don't care. You got the right one. So, I remember my mom was like, because it was like, it was like on Fletcher Avenue and like off on like 15th Street in the cut. So it's kind of ghetto out there. And like I said, I was from like Tampa Palms, you know what I'm saying? Or like the trailer park back in the day. I wasn't really familiar with like the hood. And so I was like, I don't know who these people think they are. But, I was from the South. So I was like, nothing really scares us. We're not supposed to be scared of anything but God. And it didn't really faze me. So I did. I called both my parents and I was like, listen, I just got a gun pulled on me. You know what I mean? Like, and at this point I was scared because I had thought about what happened. And my dad told me, pray, God's got you, everything's going to be okay. And my mom's like, be cool with people in the hood. They'll have your back. And I'm like, maybe shoot me in the back. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, whatever. So the next day, I stayed at my place because I was like, can I just stay the night at one of you guys' houses? No. The next day, I forgot all about it, and I'd gotten them out of my house, and looking through the closet, and I'm taking the blankets out, and I realized that there was a pipe of, somebody had called my surrogate mother, so that means, like, a house that I'd taken to, they had gone up on her porch and had taken her pipe, and I was like, dang, they're, like, casing which I didn't know what casing meant at the time, casing, my family's houses, and they know where all my family lives. So anyways, like, I didn't think nothing of it. I let her know that it was there and, what happened, which, I was, so anyways, later I'm like cleaning, I'm vacuuming and stuff, and I got music blaring, I've got my windows open, and I hear knocking on my door. So when I open it, I just open it. I didn't look out the peephole. They barged in my door past me. And the one girl took me in, she's like, we're going to the beach, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, long story short, I ended up in 3 armed burglaries, and in a car with a guy who was kidnapping me. And at this point, he's got a gun on me the whole time. He's like, don't worry, I'm taking you to North Carolina. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. How can I not be worried? We get in a really bad car accident. A wood post goes through his head and his chest. We went through 2 houses, a concrete wall, rolled back out, landed on the roof of the car. It's a 2-seater Mercedes-Benz. And I remember waking up with my head like this and my feet over my head. And I'm like, some people say nobody pulled me from the car. Some people say somebody pulled me from the car. I'm going to tell you it was an angel. Because there was no way I could get out of that car. So anyways, I come out of the car. I didn't find out till later. I guess he died right next to me in the trauma unit from the wind post going through his head and his chest. I remember they took me to jail not too long after that because I remember my dad coming in and saying, I don't know who you are, where you come from, but you need to get out of this room so I know my daughter's okay. So it was detectives trying to question me, and I thought they were doctors. I was really out of it. My head was really swollen. And I had a neck brace on. After they had slammed me up against the car and everything else, the ambulance came. They're like, listen, whoa, you know what I mean? We got to lay her down. Like, we can't, you can't be, like, aggressive with her right now. So, you could paralyze her. Interestingly enough. It makes you wonder. So, Um, anyways, they ended up releasing me from the hospital, and I was laying in a bed of glass, and I kept telling them, look, I'm laying in a bed of glass. I'm laying in a bed of glass. I'm getting cut. I'm getting cut. They kept slamming back down on the bed, and they were like, there's nothing underneath you. My mom's like, what's going on? Like, is she laying on glass? Later on, they take me to my own room. My mom sees I'm in a bed full of glass, and she flipped. Anyways, I get arrested later on. They arrest me for trespassing with a firearm and grand theft auto with a firearm because they found a gun in the car. And I'm like, I did not have a gun. Check the fingerprints. That is not my gun. I didn't want to be in the car. And then I heard something about homicide because they said I didn't help him out. And I'm like, I mean, hello, he had a gun on me. Like, anyways, I mean, it's not funny, but I kind of, laugh about it now because thank you, Jesus, I'm here. And I mean, seriously, like, help the dude out of the car. Like, so what? He could, get me killed with the police. So that's where we were there. I ended up going to prison. These girls, one of the girls, she gets off scot-free. The one dude dies, and the other one gets probation. And I'm like, and they sent me to prison. And after they got me for 3 more charges of armed burglary and another county, everything got dropped down to 1 burglary. But still, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm going to prison. Like, my legs buckled in that courtroom, and I was like, no way. Because jail was scary. Like, I was not for jail. You know what I mean? Like, I learned how to be a criminal in there. I remember people looking at my veins, and they're like, you got such good veins. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I didn't know what a junkie was. I didn't know heroin was real. I thought it was like, on TV. I mean, I heard about it, but I never seen it, never done it. I did everything else, but not that. And I was like, whatever. So I met like a lot of people in there, like that was my new life. Everybody stopped talking to me for the most part. Because, I mean, I was on the news every hour on the hour when all this went down, and people were like, I was on the newspaper, people were like, what in the world has happened to Amber, And so you lose a lot of friends at Tampa Plums when you're a criminal, when they label you as a criminal. And I really thought I was going home 11 months later fighting this case. And I didn't. And so prison and jail were probably the longest I've ever been clean. And that was like forced. Like the whole time I really thought about getting high, and I could not wait. And I remember getting out of prison finally, and it was like probably the best breath I've ever taken was walking out of those gates. My mom drops weed in my lap and blunts in my lap, and I'm not even off the compound yet. And I'm like freaking out because there's officers walking up on me. Anyways, we roll up, we smoke. My mom's wife had talked about how clear my eyes were the whole time. We go out to eat. And Julie's looking across the table, and she's like, why are your eyes so red? And my mom's like, Julie, stop. Leave her alone. You know what I'm saying? She's tired, da-da-da, because my mom always, had a wool over Julie's eyes. So, they told me I could live with them. That didn't last very long. We all went on vacation I went on vacation with my grandma. My mom told me I had to go. I met this girl. She was a probation parole officer. I'm like, all right, this would be good, get some structure in. Right after I get out of prison. This should be a good thing. I meet her, we sleep together. I move in with her, and she's got a kid, and she just had, things happen to her back, so she's out of work, and she introduces me to Roxy's. I've never taken an opiate in my life, and it's on. I'm not now on the toilet. She's taking pictures of me, sending it to her cop friends, telling them I stole her pills. Complete lie. Anyways, I ended up taking care of this girl. I got a broken ankle, and now I'm strung out on pills. She's getting steady pills, prescriptions of them, and she's got me involved in all kinds of stuff. We end up, she ends up getting her job back. She takes me to these houses. She has me put a badge on. And I had no idea it was impersonating an officer or anything. I'm like, I didn't think like that. I didn't know the law like that. And she starts confiscating people's drugs. And I'm like, I don't want any part of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was there, but I was like, I wasn't doing it. She was threatening to violate these people if um, she wasn't able to confiscate them. She gave them a choice. So now we're getting like extra bills and stuff, and it got really crazy. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Anyways, that was a very violent, abusive relationship. She's very hateful. Um, you know, we have really good times, you know, sometimes, but she's very controlling. And I remember my best friend said to me one time, this girl's going to end up killing you. When I got with her, I had no idea she kind of stalked me out and knew a group of people that I'd already been with. Um, you know, like they were all best friends and this and that. And I remember my surrogate mom calling me and being like, dude, like, everybody stopped talking to her because she pulled a gun. While everybody was at her house and this and that. And she's crazy and, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, whatever, I can handle this. No. And I always seem to get with the crazy people, and I'm like, not that I, you know, didn't have my own issues, but man, I was just different, you know. And life went on, and now we got introduced to the Latins, and things got crazy there. We broke up, and I ended up in hotels and stuff, and I'm cooking meth and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Um, Trying to maintain, trying to get by, and I just started feeling like I was being watched. Like, and you know, people can get me to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I did anything for love. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I will do anything to get you to love me or get you to be around. Because I was terrified of being alone. I'd never been alone. I didn't want to be alone. Um, and I was crushed. You know, I was going through a lot of stuff, and my family wasn't there for me. I was always, you know, on my own. Even in relationships, I always said, I feel like I'm surrounded by a million people, but I'm completely alone. Like, I felt like nobody understood me, and you know, like I used drugs a lot to um, cover up my mental illness, and you know, like I always said, drugs were a symptom of my mental illness, and so I self medicated like my whole life, and um, so the drugs continued. I got more and more every time I got in a relationship. The person was more crazy than the last one, and it just got wild. And then I start, you know, hanging out with people that I met in prison. Start hooking up with people, and I'll never forget. It got to the point where my dad died, and I tried poking myself everywhere because I was cooking meth in this trailer and in Plant City and driving around in a U-Haul. I went to my dad's funeral with a U-Haul full of drugs. I mean, like cooking meth. Um, Stuff got wild. And then I knew at that point something was going on because the green team kept coming to my house, circling my house, checking to see if I was cooking dope, like checking to see if there was any signs or whatever. And I was like, man, something's going on. But I really did not care. You know, at 18, I had 3 cops sitting up front of my house and I'm still slinging dope. Like, you know, it didn't matter what happened to me. So I just started getting this feeling like something was not right. And I ended up meeting this girl that I was in jail with, and I move in with her, and she's like, man, you want to feel better? She's like, I got something that'll make you feel better. And I was like, what is it? She's like, Dilaudid. She's like, if I shoot you up with this, man, like, you're not going to feel anything. It's just going to be amazing. And I'm like, you got me. You know, you got me at hello. Like, I'm down because I want to escape everything I'm feeling right now. My dad had just died. I found him my sister out of jail. I got screwed over. My whole family turned against me. And I laid on the bed and I put my arm back and she shot me up. And it was like a full body orgasm. You know, like that's the only way I could describe it. And I was hooked. At that point, I would not use a drug unless it was in a needle. And I never thought that it would get to that point. Within 6 months, I'm in the hospital with 2 infected heart valves and pulmonary embolism, septic in one lung, pulmonary embolism in the other lung, and a mono that she gave me, so she not me. And they told me I had hepatitis C. fighting for my life. I was in and out of hospitals, checking myself out, checking myself in. Um, like this girl taking off on me on the side of the road. My eye got split open. She popped me in my eye, split my eye, which she was like some kind of, she boxed and, crazy stuff, whatever. And, I mean, things got more and more wild. Like, I don't even have time to go into all of it. I wrote a book, so you can see it. And the drugs continued, the shooting up continued. I continued to meet more people that were in the same lifestyle. Stealing started, but I was there in the car. One of them was stealing purses and all kinds of stuff. And then I was like, I gotta get away from this, so I got away from that. And got into something else, and got into relationship after relationship, and it got more and more abusive. More and more things happened to me. I got, molested and put myself in bad situations. Sometimes things happen that I can't even remember. The drugs got worse. The selling, I got into more selling, and I totally, completely, and fully lost my mind. I have no idea who I was anymore. Sometimes I can't even tell you my name. I was in and out of psych wards. I started hearing a lot of audio, and I started getting a lot of visual hallucinations. I know I was being followed by the feds. I didn't know if it was for me or they were following me to get to other people, because I was like, man, I ain't nothing compared to what these people got going on. Then again, I was like, I don't know if these people are with these people. And I mean, they were in the trees. I was getting hit across highways. I had people speeding up, hitting me in the axle of a car. It was intentional, like the things that were happening to me. I could hear people in the vents. I had guns pointed at me, lasers pointed at me on my chest. I was like ducking in and out of everywhere. I was walking the streets, blisters all over my feet. People were stopping, trying to give me water. I was pouring sweat, jumping off bridges, hiding in mud. I mean, you name it, I was doing it. I was filthy. I was terrified. I was crying. I was so scared one time. I peed on myself going over an interstate, calling the police, begging them to help me because I was so afraid. And they took me and Baker acted me, and they let me go the next day. They did not care, and I was not competent. And I knew something was going on. I was being tormented, not only mentally, but, in the real world, I was being tormented. My mental illness was being played on. I don't even know where the drugs were coming from, if they were real drugs, but I think it was messing with my mind even more. Which drugs can do that, but I think there was also other things being given to me. I can almost bet my life on it, or I can't bet my life on it. Anyways, I tried many times to go into the methadone clinic. I would stop using, I would start doing good, and then that would be taken from me. Like the person speeding up and hitting me in the axle of the car. And I couldn't get to work anymore, and I met this guy, this old man, and I tried to help him one day. I seen him like out of the store, and so I was like, do you need a drink? He was an old man, like he sat there every day in his truck, and I was living in a car. And he let me buy him a soda, and later on I found out that he was like retired from the FBI, and he had pretended to be senile, and got me hooked back on heroin, was giving me money to get it, and driving me, and I mean, just crazy stuff was taking place. And I remember they deemed me incompetent several times. Anyways, to continue the story, I continued on drugs, ended up dying so many times, too many times to count. And this past year, I was on a ventilator 3 times. Once in January, February, and then in March. And I remember I was going backwards with my health because I ended up paralyzed in 2019. I had a lung taken out in 2017. I had my throat cut open in like 2015. And my arm sliced open in like 2018. And I had a girlfriend dying right next to me. We died next to each other. They resuscitated me and not her in about 2017. And all these things kept happening. And then I got clean. I went to detox, was in a dual diagnosis program, and then went into a halfway house. Started to get clean, wasn't ready, didn't get clean, got another relationship. Things got really crazy, like crazier than they've ever been. I got my heart broken, smashed, paralyzed, went backwards. And like I said, at the beginning of the year, ventilator. And one day I was laying in my bed, and I had had a 5-hour seizure this last time, bit through my tongue, almost took my tongue off. And I was laying on the bed and I was like, you know what, Lord, if you're not going to let me die, here I am. Do something with me. And I remember I heard him speak to me and he said, get up. And I was like, Lord, I can't get up. Like my legs don't work. And he was like, get up. And so not knowing if my legs would work, I just bought this necklace that says, walk by faith, not by sight. So I was like, all right. I got up and I started to walk. I started to make my way to the bathroom and back to the bed. And about that first week, I was rolling my own wheelchair. Next week, I was pushing behind it or, within. And then the week after that, I was using the cane. I put it down. I was like, you know what? Me and Jesus got this. And I started telling everybody about the Lord. Out of my mind still, And this entire year has been like a process of growing and, like establishing this deep connection with my Heavenly Father, who created me. And man, I have started writing again and getting deeper in the Word, and I have received so much healing. Like, I walk, I talk, I chew bubble gum, I do it all, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm doing this right now because He gives me the strength. And I wanted to share that today because, they say, you overcome by the word of your testimony. And in recovery, they say, we could share our experience, strength, and hope. And I'm telling you, like, if I can do it, you can do it. Because, I stopped at the craziest time in my life, like I said, when it was all over, when it was done. And I was like, Lord, I give you my life. And no matter where I go, there's nowhere else I knew I could go. You could not put me anywhere else where I was like, you can't take me any lower. Like, I'm in the darkest place I've ever been, and I'm terrified, I'm mortified, I am insane, I'm out of my mind, and I can't do this anymore. And He pulled me out of it. And it wasn't instant, but I can tell you I received instant healing, and it's been a healing process, and I'm still healing to this day. I was so heartbroken, so hurt, and I carried so much unforgiveness, and I had so many burns on me from doing so many wrong things, and I was ashamed and angry and sad and depressed, and miserable, and I gave my life to God. It was the best decision I ever made, and getting clean, and I was still smoking weed when I gave my life to Jesus, and I was listening to preachers, and I was like, I didn't feel condemned for the first time in my life, but I felt convicted. And I was like, Lord, I need at least some weed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a lot going on. And I've done this with absolutely nothing. I still take Lyrica. I took a bunch of vitamins and stuff. Sometimes I take ibuprofen. But I'm completely clean. And I'm telling you, like, I feel great. Like, I go through some things. I just started hepatitis C treatment a few days ago. It's been a little rough on my body, but I'm still maintaining, you know what I mean? Like, I was in bed for a few days, and, like, pray for me because, I will take all the prayer I can get. But in 12 weeks, I will be cured of hepatitis C. The Lord is continuing to work in my life, and I just thought it'd be great to share that with you guys today. Thank you for watching, listening, and being a part of my growth. And thank you for all the prayers. And here we go. Like, this is just the beginning of so many great things. And there's so much more to come. I'm at the end of this book I'm writing. Details are in there. All I could say is praise be to God. And, He is a healer. We're about to come up on Easter, and I remember I had a vision of Jesus, and I seen him, and he was on the cross, he was looking down, and he looked up at me, and he said, I love you this much. And He loved us that much that He died on the cross for us. And He took upon all our sin, and all our shame, and all our pain, and all our dirty, disgusting secrets. And He carried that, and He went to the grave, and He went to hell for us. And He was buried, and He rose again. And He's more alive than ever. And if you haven't given your life to Jesus, it'd be the best decision you ever made. It's a simple prayer. And it goes like this. Dear Heavenly Father, come into my heart. Forgive me of my sins. Wash me and cleanse me. I want to live for you. Amen. That's that simple. And you're forgiven instantly, and everything's forgotten. It's washed away. And you're made clean, and you're made right with God. And walking with Him has changed my life in every way. And I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but I'm telling you, like, I was like, Lord, I will never be with a man. I will be by myself. I don't have to be with women anymore because I know what the Word of God says. And so I was like, Lord, but, you know, He puts the desires in our hearts. And, you know, I heard this voice, you know, coming through my phone one day, and I was like, who is that? Like, I was so deep into worship, and I felt this spiritual draw. And just the voice. I didn't know what the person looked like or anything else. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's him right there. And so, you know, I went and I was like, Lord, I'm just going to be real. I was like, they better be cute because I can't do it. But seriously, I'm just being real with you. So I went and looked, and I was like, okay. Yeah, okay. So I was like, I was not attracted to dudes. I was like, I'm not, I can't, I won't. And I was like, that's him. And the Lord started showing me visions and dreams. And I know people might think I'm crazy, but like, I mean, it's a real thing. Like, that's what He does. Like, and when He says He gives you the desires of your heart, like, He puts those desires in your heart. You know what I'm saying? And now I was like, man, it's so weird going from being hit on by like tons of women to like sometimes women like it's crazy how women act with me now as opposed to how they did before. But now, you know, it's like men hitting on me, and it's like, you know, like a culture shock for me. But I've had to learn myself and my identity and find like the way to dress and to feel comfortable, and like I know who I am today. I have confidence. Like I can look myself in the mirror, you know what I'm saying? I can be me, I can have fun, I can, you know, like dance and cut up, and even when I'm by myself, you know what I mean? I love me. Like I love hanging out with me. I can just chill. I can do, you know, like things alone, which I've never been able to do. I've always been very codependent. And it's really exciting, you know, this journey. You know, there's been a lot of pain. I tell people becoming a Christian is not easy. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the best decision you'll ever make, but it's like open heart surgery while you're wide awake. Sorry, got caught up. And it's true, you know. But what He does is He goes in and He's so gentle, and He removes that stuff little by little. But you got to be open to Him doing that. You know what I mean? And you are wide awake, and you got to face those things that you've been holding on to, that pain, that torment, that abuse, that, you know, that breakup, that divorce, that cheating, that lying, the betrayal. You know, you got to really be open to really face things that have happened, or even things you've done, stealing, lying, cheating, betraying. And you've got to be open to saying, you know what, like, I know what it feels like to not be forgiven, and I know what it feels like to be forgiven, and I want to forgive, and I want to be forgiven. And because I was forgiven, I forgive, you know what I mean? And we love God because He first loved us. And they say, you know, those who have been forgiven much love much. And I love wholeheartedly, fully, and completely. I'm not always the best at it, you know what I'm saying? I still get a little attitude sometimes. I'm still like, look, I am like, I can't do this. I don't know what you got going on, but like, this is like, enough is enough is enough. I got my own things going on. But I do, like, I genuinely love, and I truly cherish the relationship that I have with the Lord. And that's my testimony, you know. And here I am today, a year later. And, man, like, when they say the Lord opens up doors that no man can shut, right here, this is a door right here. Like, and it's been open, and I was like, Lord, I'm not going through that door. And I'm okay today. I was like, I made a video last week, and I was like, I don't like the way my mouth is doing that, and da-da-da. And this is when the Lord wanted me to do this, is today. And I'm open to doing it because this is the day that He wanted me to do it. You know, because sometimes I try and jump in on other people's times because I'm like, I feel pressured. And when you feel pressured to do something, it's just not what it's supposed to be like. So I really don't care how people see this or view this or what they say or what they think. Here it is, and here I am, you know. And my name's Amber, by the way. And I hope that, you know, this gives somebody strength, and hope that, you know, if you're struggling with anything right now, you know, like, there is a better way, and there's hope, and you can pull through. You know, nothing is too big for God, nothing is impossible with Him. And there's meetings, you know, there's places where you can go, there's other people just like you, that have been through things that you've been through. And there's always somebody that's, you know, got open arms. You know, there's always an open door for you too. You know, you just got to choose it. So I never thought that I would stop using, and it's been amazing. So happy birthday to me. All right, have a good day. Be blessed.